Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. The President Ortiz got a better good morning than that. But anyway, I'd like to call the Will County Board Executive Committee meeting to order. Let's say 10:15, and if we can all stand for the pledge, I would like to invite Marguerite Kenny. Would you please lead us? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Jackie, can we have a roll?
Richmond, Williams, Butler, Freeman, Hickey, Logan, Newquist, Oxley, Pretzel, Trainier, Winfrey, Van Dyne.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Looking for a motion to approve the executive minutes from November 13th, 2025. Discussion on the minutes. Roll, please.
Richmond, Williams, Butler, Freeman, Hickey, Newquist, Oxley, Trainier, Winfrey, Van Dyne.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Anyone from the public this morning wishing to speak to the board? Anyone from the public? Public comment? No? All right. Moving on to old business 25-3399-01 Educational Choice for Children Act. If we remember, this was brought forward by member Balich, and I would like to invite Jess Plowman up from the Illinois Policy Institute to say a few words before we take action. Good morning, Ms. Plowman.
Good morning. So my name is Jess Plowman. Like Dylan Sharkey, who was here last month, I work for the Illinois Policy Institute. But one of the reasons that I wanted to be here today is because I am also a resident of Will County. I live right here in Joliet, just across the street from Crest Hill. I'm here to ask for your support for this referendum because I believe it will help the children of Will County. The Federal Scholarship Tax Credit Act, or FSTC, that is a name change from the ECCA that it was originally introduced under, has already been passed. We don't have any further say in the program's existence or how it works. What we do have say in is whether or not any of that money will be coming back to the children of Will County. By opting into this program, students who need extra support in school will have access to the same resources, regardless of their family's financial backgrounds and regardless of which method of education is working best for them. Unlike previous school scholarship programs, this includes public school students, and I believe that they will be one of the greatest benefactors of introducing a program like this. Remember, the program already exists. If we want any of that money to come back to public school students in Will County, we will need to opt into this program. And if you have more questions on how that works or what that looks like, we can talk about that. This referendum is vital because it's the only point from here on out that the citizens of Will County will have a democratic voice in this process. Although the rules are still being written by the Treasury Department, the odds are high that Governor J.B. Pritzker will be making the call on whether this program stays or goes by himself. There could be some exceptions to that are still being developed.
Same.
But I hope that won't be true by the end of this. There could be some exceptions to that, but odds are Governor Pritzker will be making this call on his own. So how do we inject a sense of democracy into that decision? How do we give the voters of Will County a voice in whether this program is adopted by Illinois or not? we do that through a referendum. I truly believe this is one of the most important referendums procedurally that we've had, because rather than just basically being a public opinion poll that then needs to go through the regular legislative process, this is an opportunity for voters to comment, inform Governor Pritzker directly on what they believe the state of Illinois should do, and it will be their only opportunity to do that. We don't believe that Governor Pritzker should be making this decision in a vacuum without hearing from voters, and a referendum is actually the only tool we have to be able to do that. I believe the people of Will County will show their support for this program given the opportunity to vote on it, because regardless of what voters say in March and regardless of what Pritzker decides, by 2027, this tax credit will be available to all taxpayers, including taxpayers here in Illinois. And I believe that the best way to protect our education system, especially our public education system here in Illinois, is by ensuring that some of that money that is going to go toward these programs anyway will come back to students in Illinois. Without opting in, that will not happen. The taxpayers will still get their same tax break, but it will be students in other states who take advantage. Students in other states who get the benefits. We should not publish our neighbors for decisions that we dislike in Washington. We should be taking action to provide the most resources for the students who are right here in Will County. We should be taking action to ensure that your financial situation is not the determinator of the outcome of your education. And we should give a voice to the people of Will County in whether or not they agree with my opinion of this, that this would be a good thing. Even if you don't agree that this is a good thing, it was clear from the last meeting that one thing nobody thinks is that this is unimportant. And because nobody thinks it's unimportant, our voters should have a say in it at the ballot box. Thank you.
Thank you. Looking for a motion to put this on the floor for discussion. Motion Butler. Second Oxley. Discussion, I have Member Hickey first.
Hi, good morning, Jess. I have several questions, but I want to talk about some of the things that you just said. First of all, I noticed that you were singling Governor Pritzker out. All governors are the ones who are making the decision to opt in or not, correct? Okay.
Make the decision here in Illinois.
Right, but that's not an anomaly. That's across the board.
Oh,
for
of
all
course.
states. Okay. And this is people's only voice. People have a voice through their legislative representatives. So, I mean, they are represented in Springfield. So, you know, how we weigh in on this, I'm not entirely sure is appropriate, but I am concerned because I don't want to leave money on the table. I hear what you're saying. These are donation-based, correct?
What do you mean by donation-based?
The tax credit is completely dependent upon whether you choose to donate or not.
Well, yes. So taxpayers can choose to donate, and then that money will be received by SGOs, scholarship granting organizations, who will then distribute it to students as long as they're. So let me go back actually and address also what you said about their representatives in Springfield, because that's exactly what I'm talking about. From what we know of how the rules are written for adopting this so far, the odds are high that the legislative body will not have a say in whether or not this is adopted.
There are two pieces of legislation, at least that I saw last night, that are actually moving through Springfield. Is that not correct?
Not that I've been
Representative
aware of.
Daisy?
It could have come up without my knowing. But it will be the Treasury that writes the rules on how states adopt. And if the Treasury says the governors make the call on whether or not to opt in, I'm not sure like I said, those rules are still under consideration. But from what we've heard so far, I'm not sure that other than just expressing support in the same way that this referendum would, that the legislature, we can't guarantee that the legislature will have a say because it's
Okay.
the Treasury making that call.
There are two. One is HB 4099, and then Representative Davis has also, Jed Davis has also, from Shorewood, has also put in a bill. So, or not Shorewood, I'm sorry.
And
Um,
again, I don't know the details of those legislation, but it could be
Okay,
a
but there
voicing
is,
of support for the governor, basically saying like, hey, we're behind this or we're not behind this. But it's the Treasury who will write the rules on how it actually gets adopted.
correct.
And from everything we've heard so far, it will probably be ultimately the governor's call.
It is the governor's
yeah,
call. That is
okay.
the way it's written. For now, like you said, we
Yeah.
do not have Treasury Department guidance on what the final regulations are going to be. And so my understanding is a household will decide to donate or not. So if they give $1,700 for individuals, $3,400 for households filing jointly, then that money is distributed to the SGO, the Scholarship Granting Organization. And the scholarship granting organization then can withhold 10% of those funds in administrative fees. Is that correct?
Yes, to qualify, well, that is the maximum. So to qualify as an SGO, you cannot dedicate more than 10% of the total revenues you take in to anything other than scholarships. So 90% of all the funds you take in have to go directly to students.
Okay. I think 100% of the funds that we pay to our taxing bodies for schools go to the schools. But so are the funds available for homeschoolers, micro schoolers,
Yes.
preschool?
There are, I'm not sure about preschool, I believe it's K through 12, but this is universal across any type of schooling that you might be doing.
Okay, that is not anywhere in the literature that I saw. It actually said that that has not been determined yet. And so people will be donating. If they choose to donate and say they have a student who has educational needs that fit the Coverdell criteria, which is what the Treasury Department is following for what are acceptable expenses for this money. So they give the money, they have a kid with needs, and the kid then has to apply to the scholarship granting organization.
So you're talking about a family with a student with needs who's donating to the organization? Well, yes, but in most cases, those are going to be two separate families. You will have people who are donating because they believe in the program, and then you will have students who are in need. And the reason for that is because there is an income threshold to accepting the scholarship.
300% of the local median income.
Right,
correct?
yes.
Okay, so that's about 90% of the households in Will County. Will County, our private school costs are around $9,000, which is a bargain compared to the rest of Illinois, which is around $12,000 per year. So how much is each student that applies? Because I'm assuming that if they're applying, that means that some will be granted and some will not be granted. How much will each student be receiving?
That is up to the scholarship granting organizations. It's stuff that they will decide.
And are there any limitations that the governor can put on this as far as any concerns about whether or not the scholarship granting organization is, following discriminatory practices against the LGBTQ community or?
So that is two things on that. One, that is one of the most watched rules that still needs to be decided by the Treasury. There will be, the specific wording of it is not on paper yet. But one of the things that I believe you all received in an email from my colleague, Jim Long, is that one of the reasons we want this on the ballot so early is so that more organizations can apply to be scholarship granting organizations. So for example, because of the way these programs were previously set up, most of, and because of the way Invest in Kids was set up, frankly, most of our extant scholarship granting organizations are only used to working with private schools. So they're going to have to determine how they sort of fold in all these newly eligible students. Now, one of the solutions that we'd like to propose to that, which this was in the email from Jim that I believe you got, is that we want to encourage all public school foundations in Illinois to apply as scholarship granting organizations. So that would be here in Will County, the Joliet Foundation for Educational Excellence is an organization that is already granting grants for public education here in Will County. If they applied as an SGO under this under this thing, they would be eligible for those federal dollars and could distribute them to
And yet,
students.
what I hear you saying is that even if Will County families donate to this program, the money is not necessarily going to stay in Will County.
Well, it definitely won't stay in Will County if we
Okay.
don't opt in.
Okay.
It will definitely, that money will still go out of Will County, but it has no option of coming back if
But
we don't
even-
opt in.
I'm sorry, even if this governor opts in, that money is not earmarked for Will County. Is that
No,
correct?
if we opt in, then we
Okay.
give the local thing, the local organization, the Public School Foundation, an opportunity to apply as an SGO. And if we do that and other states don't have that granular local level of application, then probably more of the money is going to us just by virtue of the fact that we have more organizations who are eligible for
Okay,
it.
I appreciate that. And believe
Mhm.
me, I would love to do everything we can to enrich our public school education. And I'm also, I'm asking these questions because
Yeah.
I am a fan of looking at other ways to support our educational needs in our state. I think that, you know, it's less than equitable to have local property taxes be the only venue in order to get some funds to the schools. And, you know, schools end up having to cut programming like arts and music because they're financially strained. But I'm hearing a lot of question marks, and I know that you all really want this on the primary ballot and that we have a December 30th deadline. Is it 29th or 30th? I can't remember.
I don't know.
Okay, so I realize that that's the issue, but I'm thinking that there are other mechanisms for our constituents to be able to voice their opinions by directly petitioning the governor, by, you know, going through the state legislature. There are other ways. And honestly, you know, the 10th Amendment says that this is a state's issue. So I kind of really would like to leave it to the state. And if that's the governor acting independently as this, you know, are in this regulations, then I think that that's what we need to do. So I would like to press pause on this because I don't necessarily know that we have enough information to put this out to referendum.
I would say that a referendum, for all of the things that you just brought up about being concerned about, you know, people having a voice in the matter, I can't think of anything more direct or official than asking the voters at the ballot box. That would be my opinion.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Moving on, Mr. Balich.
Yeah, I got a question for you. How many counties and townships have already passed a resolution to put it on the ballot?
This is something I should definitely know, but I don't know. We've been going to so many and I'm not sure which ones are
Last
official
I
yet.
heard was 11 counties and over 20 townships.
Yeah, it has been a lot.
And that was 2 weeks ago. So, you know, I'm just saying, we're not the only county involved, the only county asking for this. And the reality of it is what, you know, when we're talking about this, if we don't opt in, that means that you're voting not to allow this program to take place in Illinois, period. We got to get the governor, we have to do a referendum to get the governor to opt in. If we don't want to do a referendum to get the governor to opt in, the odds are that the governor's not going to opt in. Even if everyone does it, will the governor opt in? We don't know. But I sure in heck don't want to be the person to stop a program like this from coming in. If it's not going to cost the county anything to add a referendum. So, you know, all we're doing is saying, let's help all the children, all of them, public school, private school, homeschool. Let's help all of them, any child that needs money. So right now, they got rid of Invest in Children and that was all like private schools and stuff like that. Well, this isn't like that. This is for all, A-L-L, all children. So that means that if you need a tutor, there's a lot of people that can't afford the cost of food, gas. Well, gas is going, thank God it's going down, but they can't afford to buy stuff that they normally would. The taxes keep going up, except we got a zero levy. So thank God we didn't do it to them. But the schools, they keep raising it a lot. So now when people don't have any money, how do they buy a tutor or pay for, I mean, not buy, pay for a tutor? How do you pay for a tutor? You can't. So you're hurting that child. This program allows you to pay for a tutor. And when we're talking about the groups that can give the money, we got a paper here with 2 sheets of groups. And on this, out of these 2 sheets, I would bet most all of them qualify to do the money. And people can say no, but what are the qualifications? They just have to take the money and be recognized by the federal government so that they're not going to steal the money. That's all. It's not that hard. So if we're the county say no, we're saying no to the option that we might be able to convince the governor to go ahead and sign this bill and get it for all the children. And if we say no, why are we talk about kids all the time, and then when something comes up that you can help the kids, everybody's like, well, wait a minute, we can't do this because, well, the state doesn't pay any money, either does the county, and it's already passed, so we can't determine any of the parameters. The Treasury Department's going to determine the parameters. And Jess has done an excellent job explaining this, but I don't understand the opposition, because it's like, opposition to what? Helping children? I've never, ever heard such ridiculous things in this room. We're opposed to helping children. I was here, we got to do this because the poor people need help. Now we're saying people don't need help for their kids. Let them figure it out.
Steve, I don't think
I'm
everybody,
gonna stop, but I'm just saying, this is like, to me, it's like a no-brainer. It's like something that we should just do because it's the right thing to do. That's it.
I just want to warn you that, when we say we, there was only one comment made so far, but so as a board, it is up to the committee. So, yeah. Okay. Understood. Okay, 3 more listed at least. I have Freeman, Trenier, and then Butler. So, Micah Freeman?
Thank you. So I do have a question for you, ma'am. I have to direct it to the speaker, though. I'm working on protocol here. So right now, the few SGOs that disperse money in our region in 2023, less than 10% of their money came to our region. So I am curious, with the passing of this, what percentage will be coming to Will County? Is it possible to get an answer on that?
I don't believe it is possible because it will depend on the actions of SGOs that don't exist yet, most likely. I will say, I believe it will go up because under this program, public schools are eligible as well. If we have time for a quick story, I interviewed a child 2 years ago when we were talking about Invest in Kids. His name is George Kokuro. At the time, he was a freshman at Joliet West. He, at the time, was interested in possibly transferring to Joliet Catholic Academy because of one class. He had heard that that Joliet Catholic Academy was offering an elective course dedicated for students who want to go into pre-law, and he wanted to go into pre-law, and he wanted that class. And because of that, he was trying to get a scholarship to go to Joliet Catholic Academy. So here's my vision for this program, the way it works now, is that George Kokuro, if those scholarships were applicable for public school students as well, he wouldn't need to be looking into transferring schools. He could enroll in an extracurricular program that was dedicated toward this, a summer program that was dedicated toward pre-law. He could enroll in tutoring that would help him with pre-law. So I do believe that there are, just because of the expanded number of students, that those numbers would, who are eligible, that those numbers would change dramatically.
So I have, since this was brought up, Mr. Speaker, I have reached out to some superintendents, some educators, a gentleman with the unions. And what I'm hearing from the public school system is they don't think this is going to benefit them. They feel that this is going to take money away from them. They feel that public education is being attacked, which I have to agree with them on that at this point, especially with this, what's going on with the Department of Education. And I also agree that there are pieces of legislation at work in our state. I do believe that we can put this as a referendum on, and our residents are going to have to do research and figure out what it is, only to find out that it's just an advisory thing. It's just to say yes or no. And that's what we have emails for, and that's what we have phone calls for, is to reach out to our legislators, to let them know. I heard 11, was it 11 counties have put this on? And just out of, to put that into perspective, there is 102 counties in our state. So that's a very small percentage. I think that we need to leave this up to the legislators. I think we need to leave this up to our governor. Thank you.
Thank you. Members of the committee, Member Trenier.
Thank you, Speaker Van Dyne. As someone who's been involved in advisory referendums, I don't recommend them. You can win them by 80% of the vote, and it means nothing. I would really like to see us continue to lobby and work with our legislators to improve funding for education. I would like to know, however, if anyone affiliated with or a part of the Illinois Policy Organization has made any money on administrative fees from the state's previous scholarship
No.
program. You're sure?
Yes.
Oh, because I know Illinois Policy is involved in a lot of
Advocacy.
interesting organizations. So
Yes, advocacy.
okay, you can call it that, but yeah, I don't think I'd be in support of this. I was in support of the last referendum we did, which was a binding referendum, and that was for the Mental Health Board. I believe that was a very partisan vote, and it is helping people in our community, and I think we're going to hear from our executive director today. So thank you very much.
If I could speak briefly, just addressing the last two comments. As a resident of Will County, it is somewhat discouraging to hear the members of our board advocating for less transparent and less public methods of interacting with our civic officers. I do believe that there is strength and power in allowing these things to be made public, and I don't believe that they should be limited only to one-on-one conversations between individuals and legislators. I do believe that it should be something that the community as a whole can see and discuss together.
Ms. Plowman, are you here on behalf of the Illinois Policy Institute or as a resident of Will County?
I am here on behalf of the Illinois Policy Institute. I am sorry if I should have kept those separate.
All right, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes.
Member Butler.
Questions? Thank you. Thanks for bringing this to the board. So there's already a program like this in place at the federal level.
This is the program that's in place at the federal level.
Right,
We have to
but-
opt in.
But we want to change it.
No.
No, okay.
No. So what it is the program that was in place it was just passed this last summer. They're still working on the rules. It won't be rolled out until 2027. But one of the stipulations of the way that it was passed is that states have to opt in to receiving the funds. Now, there's no opt-in for being a part of the tax credit itself. Everybody in all 50 states will be able to do that, whether we like it or not, starting in 2027. But in order to receive the money that is made from that, we need to opt in to this program that already exists. It's the same program.
So other states are already in the process of opting in, or have other states already opted in?
Other states have signaled that they are going to opt in. However, the actual opt-in process is not yet open.
And in those other states that already went through the legislative process, and is that it, or?
No, again, like I said, none of that process has started yet. So this has all been governors signaling that they intend to opt in. or in some cases, legislatures, kind of like what I'm assuming is in the bills that were proposed here in Illinois recently, signaling their support or opposition for opting in.
So you mentioned earlier that there was, now if people donated, it just went anywhere. And if you didn't opt in, it would, it could go to another state and the people that in your state would not get the money.
Correct.
Is that?
Yeah.
That's true. Okay. So why do you feel it's important for kids to have a choice in their education?
Well, I'll share this. I come here today as a graduate of all three kinds of education that would be applicable for this. I was homeschooled when I was young. We went to a private school when I first started high school, and then I ended up graduating from a public high school downstate. And so I know firsthand that even within the same family, based on just different situations, different times in life, that one educational size does not fit all, and that even something as simple as just like circumstances that change from year to year can change what is best for your child. I also have a coworker who has 3 different children in 3 different kinds of education, one who is being homeschooled, one who is in private school, and one who is in public school. And so the benefits of flexibility are, I think it's just a universal good.
I agree.
Okay.
So the resolution here, is it enforce anything? It's
No.
just asking a
No.
question, right?
Correct.
And we're just asking for the public's opinion.
Yes, but like I said before, I also believe that this will be one of the more impactful referendums because it will give Governor Pritzker an opportunity to see what his constituents think about this in a way that I don't believe other forms of communication necessarily would.
Well, sure, numbers matter.
Yeah.
And I think I'm personally, a strong believer in listening to the people. I think a lot of bureaucrats like to just let, politicians and staff run everything. And they forget that technically it's the people who are supposed to run the government.
Mhm.
So a simple message from a referendum like this is a powerful signal. It's an important signal. It's a lot of parents answering a very important question. And I honestly believe that giving children the right or the ability to pick their education or to have avenues that they wouldn't have is the path forward for peace and harmony within a country, because you could look into these neighborhoods where these kids are very poor and don't have many options, and their scope of the world is very small. And through education, you can expand that. So I'm 100% in support of this. And I can't think of one rational reason why we wouldn't support something like this. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. I'm going to switch over to Executive Committee Member Newquist.
Thank you. I know you mentioned transparency before, and that is actually one of the things that concerns me about this program. And just full disclosure, 12 years of private school here. So one of the things that I have not been able to find any information out about, and maybe you can provide some, is how is the money going to be distributed among the states? I mean, like right now, Illinois currently contributes far more in federal tax dollars than we receive back in benefits. So that's one concern that I have. And the other concern that I have is, what is the criteria for the SGOs? I mean, admittedly, we only have a couple here now, so that would presume that we would have to establish some new SGOs. And I haven't seen the criteria for that anywhere. And that is my concern, that I think Member Hickey mentioned we don't have very much information really about the program itself, even though it has a very lofty goal.
Sure. So as to the first part of your question, how much will come back to Illinois? You're right that we don't know that unless we choose not to opt in. If we choose to opt in, we know that the answer is 0, and it will increase the amount of money that Illinois is sending out and not getting back. As for the qualifications, I will read this answer from my coworker Jim that I believe was in an email to the board here. Any 501c3 can file for status as an SGO under all provisions that they operate under the federal guidelines, including distributing 90% of all incoming donations out as scholarships. We would encourage all public school foundations to convert to an SGO in order to allow for donors to receive a tax credit and tax deduction on their personal filings.
On again, sorry.
Yep.
Sorry about that. I did read that, but I guess what my question is, it says people could apply to become an SGO. Who's going to decide, who's going to approve an organization as an SGO, and based on what criteria?
I'm not sure of the exact board that they file with off the top of my head, but I believe what I've just read is the criteria, that is literally all it is. You need to be a 501c3 and you need to give 90% of your donations back in the form of
And that's it,
scholarships.
that's the
I believe
criteria.
that is all.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I know Member Berkowitz and Member Bullock have been waiting, but I'm going to try to do better here and keep it to the committee first, and then I will go to non-committee members. So Member Hickey, this is your second comment. Please be a little bit brief. Thank you.
Thank you. So my understanding is the SGOs have to serve more than 10 students, and they cannot be students that all attend the same.
That is correct. I apologize. I forgot about that stipulation. The other stipulation I wanted to mention too, by the way, and this is also still somewhat up in the air in Treasury rules, but one of the other reasons that we want this so early is because the governor has to approve a list of SGOs. So even if an organization is filed as an SGO, if they're not on the governor's list, they wouldn't be eligible for this program. What is up in the air with the Treasury Department is whether or not the governors will be required to put on the list all SGOs in their state, or if they will pick and choose.
Okay. I think that's great. But when we're talking about, a way of making sure the money stays in a community, we're talking about, using public school foundations, and all of those students couldn't be receiving scholarships from the same organization, from the same SGO. I'm hearing, though, again, I am a fan of investigating any ways to enrich our schools and to make sure that people have what they need. I have not heard that there is going to be a scholarship that can take a person from a household with a low income and make sure that they can pay $9,000 annually to, attend a private school. I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that how the equity is in who is being chosen. And I mean, I read a lot of information about there's going to be priority given to people who've been previously in the program in subsequent years, and also to siblings. So there's just a lot of nebulous stuff here. And I really want to be behind this because, believe me, I understand if we see a tax credit and a way to help our schools, I'm down. But I just don't think that we know enough to put this to referendum right now. That is my feeling, but I really appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. New member Williams, Leader Williams.
Thank you. I agree with Member Hickey. I would like to see us be able to utilize other forms of money besides just property taxes as well. However, if we're going to let the people decide on something, we should have more information than what we have. We don't know who would benefit from this necessarily. May not be some of our students. It may be some of our students. We don't know who these SGOs are. We don't know a whole bunch of stuff. So if we're going to put something to referendum to let the people decide, the people should have a lot more information than that before trying to make a decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Second time, Mr. Butler.
So I just, for clarification again, this is the concept. This isn't the actual law or rules that would be put in place, correct? So we're asking for the opinion of the people on a concept to help kids get scholarships.
Basically, yes.
Oh.
Do you want me to read the referendum as it would be written?
Uh,
That's fine.
They have a
Well,
copy.
Yeah. Okay,
They-
good.
Yeah, I
Thank you.
just, that's good. And then I'd also like to say that I agree with Member Newquist. I mean, it's, we're a donor state. We know that, and, you know, so I'm glad she pointed that out. But opting in keeps that money in our state. It's the opposite. It does exactly what we need, what we want. We want the funds that we are contributing to go towards our people. And it may not stay within the borders of this county, but it does stay in our state. And I think it's an important message that everybody, you know, in the state take up this cause. And remember, this is money that people are donating. It's not people, not tax money that, you know, people are donating this. And I know that, you know, there are some tax credits applied to this, and maybe that's what people are worried about, that, you know, somehow that happens. But it just seems to me that there's enough here to ask a question. There's enough information here to ask a question of the people. So thanks again for bringing this. I think you've done an excellent job explaining this, and this is a very worthy cause.
Thank you.
Leader Richmond, new member.
So this isn't a tax. It's not going to be blanketed. Everybody's going to pay. This is voluntary. This is going to be something now when I fill out my tax returns or that, I'm going to say, I want X amount, or I can write a donation or whatever I want. So it's totally up to the individual if they want to participate and how much they want to participate by.
Yes, and actually, you've just jogged something in my memory that I think will help a lot of people with some of the things that they're struggling with in this room. So you can write off the donations, and the donations can be given to specific scholarship granting organizations, or at least that's how it worked under Invest in Kids. You would give money to a particular scholarship granting organization, and then you write that off on your taxes. If it does work in that way, I might need to double check some of that. But hypothetically, I believe you could donate to, like, if the public school foundation here in Will County turned itself into an SGO, you could donate to that SGO and then get that written off on your taxes. I may need to fact check that, but it has just jogged in my memory that that is how it worked under Invest in Kids, was that you donated specifically to scholarship granting organizations.
So this would be money coming from people who could make up their own mind whether they want to or don't want to donate, and or have the financial means or wherewithal just to take advantage of some potential tax breaks.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. Okay, Member Berkowitz, thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Chair Van Dyne. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So the Educational Choice for Children Act is an incredible opportunity that our parents deserve. This is not about equity. It's not about curriculum. It's about providing an opportunity for our children, our students. As a parent who has experienced both the public education system and the private school system, I feel that we must ensure that our parents have the opportunity to pursue the type of education that they feel will benefit each individual child. This resolution is our voice to the governor that we support the parents and educators in Will County, and not only in Will County, but in the state of Illinois. This board should empower our parents, give them a choice, give them the opportunity to receive financial assistance, for they know what is best for their children. If our board walks away from this resolution today, you're sending a message to the parents and to the educators that you don't support their participation in a critical program the opportunity to participate in a program that many people throughout the country are going to be able to enjoy. We need to allow them to benefit from these scholarships that are generously donated by the taxpayers. If the committee does not support the scholarship program, taxpayers and parents will have a legitimate question to the members of this Will County Board. Why don't you think that the residents of Will County should benefit from this federal program? I support this resolution, and I ask that members of this committee approve the resolution and send it forward to the full board. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. We have a new member pop up. I apologize, Member Bullock, so I will go with Member Winfrey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I believe we've heard all sides of this argument. I would like to call the question. Is there a vote needed?
There. Yeah. I think, I do believe we do have a first and a second for the resolution provided. Kevin, maybe it was overlooked.
Yeah, we did.
We'll just wait for verification. Just,
Certainly.
we have one posted up on the screen.
Stop talking, Dan.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to call the question by Winfrey. Is there a second? Second, Trenier. Now this is a roll to call the question. Winfrey first and Trenier second. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, I turned her off. There we go.
Richmond? Williams? Butler?
Hey.
Is this an actionable item that we're voting on, or are we making a recommendation for the board to vote on something?
I'm being told it's a recommendation to take to the full board.
I just think the idea to call a question on a committee that is supposed to debate something to save time before bringing it to the board is not productive. So I'm going to I'm going to say no.
Okay.
Freeman? Hickey? Newquist?
Yes.
Oxley?
Yes.
Trainier? Winfrey? Van Dyne?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carries to call the question. So I would like to ask a roll to pass the Educational Choice for Children Act. To place the resolution on the full county board. Moved by,
I'm sorry.
oh, we do, yeah, so I'm asking for a roll. Yes.
Richmond? Williams? Butler?
Yes.
Freeman? Hickey? Newquist? Oxley?
Yes.
Trainier? Winfrey? Van Dyne?
No.
Motion fails.
Motion fails. All right. Well, thank you, Ms. Plowman, for coming in. Thank you for the healthy discussion, Executive Committee. We will be moving on now to new business. 25-3687 Will County Community Health Mental Health Board update. I'd like to invite Ms. Tina Mackey down for our update. Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning. Happy holidays.
Thanks.
So yes, the Will County Community Mental Health Board, we are right now in our 2025 grant cycle. We're a little bit more than halfway, and I've distributed some information I'd like to walk through with you. The first page might be some of the most important information. If you have folks that are asking you for information about the Will County Health Community Mental Health Board grant process, the first page has some information. December 9th, last Tuesday, we dropped the NOFO. We posted the NOFO on our webpage, the Notice of Funding Opportunity. So if people want to go to the webpage, all the information that they need about applying for the grants is there. Eligibility, if you're eligible to apply, the strategic priorities for the grant process, the dates, for the applications, anything that you need to know about applying for a grant is in that NOFO on the webpage. And including information, if you have more questions, my name, phone number, email is all there. So lots of information that people need. So again, if you have folks asking for application material.
I'm sorry, Mr. Balich, that some folks are having trouble hearing. I apologize. Would you mind having your conversation out? Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry. I'm sorry, Ms. Mackey.
No, that's okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. So again, the Notice of Funding information is at the link on the webpage, Will County Community Mental Health Board. If you enter that, the webpage will come up, the information is there. January 2nd is when we will begin taking applications, and the application process will be open through January 30th. So those are the important dates, again, if folks are asking you for information. And then there's the review and the scoring will go on through into March. We provide some technical workshops, and on or about March 9th to the 13th is when we'd like to award the 2026 grant cycle. So again, just for your information, for the 2025 grant cycle, as we finish up, third quarter performance reports are due January 15th, and I'll talk a little bit more about why that date's important in a second. And then the inaugural grant cycle, the 2025 grant cycle, will conclude April 14th. So some general information about that. The 2026 grant cycle proposed strategic priorities. So what are the areas that we're interested in funding in 2026 rather? Crisis supports and service gaps, intellectual and developmental disability programs, suicide prevention. And when we talk about suicide prevention, that also means early intervention and prevention. So as we look at applications, we'd like to begin to be able to fund programs and services that maybe reflect a paradigm shift to a younger audience, a younger person, early childhood, early grade school, those kinds of programs, so that, so again, that we begin to educate a new generation about mental health. Workforce development, so some similar programs from the 2025 grant cycle, but we've also added awareness campaigns. Cost, availability, and transportation continue to be the #1 barriers to folks getting services that they need for mental health. But I do find, and we see this pretty often more and more, that there are providers that have a wide scope of services that people just don't know about. So, being able to, I think the Community Mental Health Board could provide a leadership role in making, offering awareness campaigns, offering education about the services that are out there. There's no single provider that sort of generates information about the whole scope of services available. So I think we want to be able to include some of those kinds of things as well. The next document is just a list of folks that have been paid out of the 2025 grant cycle. This grant is a reimbursement grant, so that means that these folks have provided a program or a service or bought supplies, bought equipment, and submitted payroll reports, receipts, documentation to be reimbursed. If you look at the total, we've reimbursed to date about just a little over 1.6 million. Our total commitment is $5 million. So you can see we're less than halfway through the payments. So we're a little bit more than halfway in terms of the timeline, but less than halfway in terms of payments. So we really anticipate that January 15th performance deadline, we really expect to see lots of activity in this third quarter, and then we'll see requests for those reimbursements. Next, I put together just sometimes when you look at the budget in that big budget book, it can be a little cumbersome to look at. So I put together an updated budget based on the approved budget for the Community Mental Health Board for the 2026 grant cycle. So just spells out how we plan to spend the money. You can see we're at about 4% operating. We're pretty committed to stay as low as we can in our operating expenses. So as many dollars as possible go into those grant awards. And then finally, in one of the questions in the grant application is, what districts do you serve in Will County? And so I went through the applications and identified what they identify as the districts that they serve. So you can see that there's a preponderance of folks that are awarded grants serve throughout Will County, throughout most of the districts in Will County. There's a few that are a little bit more isolated in one or two or three districts, but this gives you sort of a picture of across the county what kind of services are available. So again, one of the focuses that we're going to have in our second grant cycle year is definitely awareness and getting the information about services that are already available to the residents of Will County so they can take advantage of them.
Perfect. I open this up to questioning now. I see Member Freeman has a question, and then Mr. Richmond, question or statement.
Thank you, Mrs. Mackey. I think this is much more detailed than our last one, and I appreciate that. I do have a question. With the 2026 grant cycle proposed strategic priorities, could you give me more information about what exactly the workforce development is going to be including?
Yeah, right now this was a priority for us in the inaugural grant cycle. We had just one application. Cornerstone Services provided a program where clinicians who were in a position to be able to apply and get some additional training for credentials that would be able to then help train younger people in the workforce to become clinicians. They got a stipend. I think it was $750. They got a stipend to proceed and get that additional certification. So the goal is to expand, or maybe a better word is incentivize people to get education, go into mental health, go into substance abuse, go into some of those social services fields to expand the workforce. Again, cost, availability, and transportation. So availability, people are waiting a long time for services because there just aren't enough providers. There are not enough clinicians in the field. And so we'd like to provide some incentive in that area. Ultimately, right now we're sort of driven by the application, but ultimately we'd like to be able to provide a leadership role to create that more robust participation. For example, maybe we meet with Lewis University or JUCO or some of the local universities and provide that incentive or reimbursement for someone to go into the field, the social services
So
field.
this would not necessarily be a scholarship. This is more, it's still on the reimbursement side.
Yeah, it could be eventually.
And it's for people, right now, it's for those that are already there getting more certification, and
Right,
more training.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Leader Richmond?
Tina, thank you for coming out. I appreciate it. And you are, like Member Freeman mentioned, you're providing us a great deal of information. I appreciate it. Just have one question on this, like your register of vendors and payments and all that.
Right.
At the end of the year, are you going to break it down? This vendor got this much, can you aggregate it as opposed to just being like a daily register of payments?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. We can format it that way. If you remember the annual report that it identified what they were approved for.
Yeah.
So, hopefully they'll follow through, do what they applied for, and spend the money that they awarded. It's not unusual sometimes for dollars to be left on the table.
Sure.
So absolutely, at the close of the grant cycle, we'll identify who got a dollar amount, the total dollar amount, and if some dollars are left on the table,
What they're
where those
approved
will
for
go.
and what was actually.
Well, absolutely, I
great.
could do that.
Thank you
Sure.
very much.
Sure.
Thank you. Member Butler?
So I just was curious. I know that everything's kind of evolving quickly and it's a new program. I just was wondering, do we have a set of criteria that we use to evaluate the people that ask for grants?
We do.
And would we be able to have access to that?
Sure. I can print it out for you. If you want it like immediately today, if you go to that NOFO, the Notice of Funding Opportunity on our webpage, it identifies specific criteria that you get points for. So if you are a sole source provider of a service, if you have a greater scope throughout the county, if you're providing a service that maybe we're not seeing very many applications for. So a good example, the workforce developments, that's something that's really important. You might get an additional point if you're in that category. There's probably the 2025 cycle, you could earn up to 74 points. And then the independent consultant reviews the application and scores based on those, but that's very objective, black and white metrics. So it's very, you either qualify or don't. You get 1 to 5 points depending on the criteria.
Thank you. And yeah, if you could just send me a link or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you. Member Trenier?
Thank you, Speaker Van Dyne. Good morning again.
Good morning.
Just a quick question. Do we have a Facebook page for this group?
We don't yet. We have Instagram, and we've been struggling with Facebook. It keeps kicking us out as a government something.
I totally understand your frustration with Facebook, trust me.
So we do plan to get some help with that after the first of the year, though.
Well, maybe they can come and help me too. The reason I ask is people ask me frequently about what's the newspaper, and I have to tell them there is no newspaper in my district. You can look on the patch, maybe they'll highlight whatever it is, or Facebook. I said, and most people they don't get any news about local activities because they either refuse to do Facebook or they just don't do the computer at all, so.
We do have Instagram, and then we also we're getting ready to put some information together about this. We also on YouTube, we have a YouTube platform. We've got 7 podcast episodes that we have recorded.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. So my fault. I should have led with that.
Yeah, I mean, that's exciting because people do like, I mean, I fixed my washing machine with YouTube.
Well,
Uh,
so again, this concept of awareness, we're going to, again, try to do a better job with awareness and promotion campaigns after the first of the year. But the podcasts feature our grantees. So folks that have been awarded money, they talk about their program and services, how to engage in services. They're other than it's a pretty basic informal conversation there, I'm told by the library staff they're pretty interesting. So for what that's worth.
Thank you.
Member Hickey.
Hi, thanks for coming out, Tina. With regard to the people who have already been recipients,
Yes.
I got contacted by a couple and they said, hey, we've been told to expect less. Now, this was before the budgeting process and all of our, dramatics, but I just wanted to see, is there anything?
Well, here I can give you the exact message that we've given our grantees, and we met with them as a group. So here's exactly what I said. The folks that are very successful with this initial grant cycle, people that spent their money efficiently, most importantly, people who did exactly what they said they were going to do and spent the money in the fashion that they said they were going to spend it, and most importantly, can identify a number of rural county residents that have benefited from the program. Those folks, we are going to work hard to make them a priority for funding in the next grant cycle. Programs that have been successful and do good things for the Will County resident. We of course we want to sustain that, right? They've worked hard to get some of these programs up off the ground. So we want to sustain those programs as much as possible. So in that sense, I would say our current grantees have a little bit of an advantage in that we know that they're going to do a good job. At the same time, grantees that haven't performed well or aren't submitting performance criteria in a timely fashion or aren't spending the money in the timeline that they've said that they were going to do, probably won't fare as well in the next scoring. It will have some influence. We, in this initial grant cycle, we had the advantage of, we wanted to try and spread the dollars available equally over the three pillars: mental health, substance use, intellectual developmental disabilities. The applications came in with substance use and intellectual developmental disabilities totaling less than a third of that money. So mental health pillar got a little bit more money, but they had exponentially more application. As a result, substance use, intellectual developmental disabilities were fully funded for all the applications that qualified. Mental health, not everybody was funded, unfortunately. There are some folks that we weren't able to fund at that level. I anticipate a much greater level of application. We're going to have lots of new folks. I've gotten dozens of phone calls. We had new folks at our last board meeting last Monday, and people who have been awarded money in the 2025 grant cycle and have been successful are going to ask for more money. We have a couple, I can think of a couple grantees that were awarded dollars at $10,000 or $30,000 that have done fantastic with even those limited dollars. So they're going to come back with much larger grant applications.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And we just went to Moose and Me the other day and got gifts for the whole neighborhood. So I appreciate you supporting them. Thank you.
Member Berkowitz, thank you for your patience.
Thank you. Okay, thanks for your presentation today. I have a couple questions.
Okay.
For the city of Joliet, what is that for?
That's
allocation?
the fire department. Joliet Fire Department was one of the grantee awards.
Which they came to our committee. Thank you. And so my question is, I've got a couple, but one of them is, several of the grants have gone to organizations that are not based in Will County. So how do we determine that though that grant is benefits Will County?
Sure, good question. So you're right. So a couple of our grantees have corporate offices that are not located in Will County, but they do provide services here.
But how do we know that our,
So when they
Will County
submit
tax-
for reimbursement, so if it's for a counseling, then we get not the name, but we get the address of the individual that has benefited from those services. Some is train. So I'll give you one example. The 100 Club is a program. Their corporate office is in Chicago, but they provide support training for first responders. So they have provided to the Will County Sheriff's Office. They've provided to the City of Joliet Police Department, and they provided a countywide fire department training on suicide prevention and, how to take care of yourself, training for first responders, just those things, how to do a good job with that. So that's an example of a program. And they send me the dates and the times and the location and the roster of the people that have registered. So in the reimbursement request, we have to have very specific information that identifies the Will County resident that benefited. So, and we don't reimburse the money until we're certain of that.
okay, so you're reimbursing them, this is after the service has occurred?
Correct.
And is that with all grantees?
There's 2 or 3 exceptions, maybe as many as 4 or 5 exceptions. And I'll give you an example of a grantee that we gave money up front. Excuse me. Like the Veterans Association bought a vehicle. And so, they went through the bid process rather than have them buy it and then give us the receipt. We just advanced the money so they could buy the vehicle. So there's been a couple like that where they've gotten the money in advance.
Okay. And so one of my concerns, you had mentioned that, so the previous grant recipients, the way moving forward, basically have the understanding that they will continuously receive a grant every year, because once they get in as a grant recipient, unless they don't perform correctly, they should expect continued funding.
No.
Is that correct?
No, quite the opposite, in fact.
So they have to reapply every year?
Correct. Well, and again, we met with all the grantees and made clear that it's important to us that they do a good job and they benefit the residents of Will County, and that certainly will be in their determining factor, if they do a good job or not. But very specifically, I told every single person in the room, we cannot in any fashion make any guarantee beyond this particular year, this grant award, because our levy is approved annually. So we have no idea from year to year how much money that
Here's
we'll
my
have.
concern, that an organization may or may not become dependent on this funding.
Okay,
In their budgeting.
sure.
And when we continue to award to this same organizations, year after year,
Uh-huh.
then that's limiting the opportunity for other organizations to have a piece of the pie. So we can only take so much taxpayer dollar from our levy, and we're going to have pressure. If these organizations think that they can continue to depend on this money every year, we're going to have the pressure of a growing network, and that's going to lead to the need for more dollars.
Well,
And it's also going to restrict our opportunity to get out there and find the other organizations that haven't had the support. And I thought of this program initially, giving that organization the hump they needed to become independent and thriving. That's my concern.
okay, and that's valid. But any organization that has made a decision to depend on our funding beyond the current grant cycle is not listening, because we've made it very clear our dollars available to us is a year-to-year process. There are community mental health boards who their revenue stream is based on sales tax. And so they have 2 and 3 and 4 year awards. That's part of their process. They don't, they can forecast how much money that they're going to have every year. We do not have the luxury of doing that. We have to have an annual. So it's not a situation where, again, anybody that's decided, oh, we've got this money this year, we'll probably get it next year, they're not listening. That's never been the message. Now, will we start from scratch? Like I explained to Mr. Butler, it's a points program. If there's an independent consultant, we start from zero. If all things being equal, 2 organizations tied, for example, in their scoring, there may be more preference given to the organization that has performed well, that we know absolutely they're going to do what they said they were going to do, and they're going to spend their money that benefits in a certain way. But there's plenty of opportunity in that scoring process for new organizations, and especially the upcoming year. There's some excellent organizations that, for whatever reason, just didn't apply in the inaugural year that will benefit. The scoring, the objective scoring process makes that capable.
So just 2 things. Thank you for bringing that up. That was one of my final questions. The Mental Health Board makes that decision on how much money goes into new organizations ultimately after this assessment process. You decide if 50% of the levy goes to past recipients or 75%. So I want to make sure that we are, that new people in the community have an opportunity, and that they're not all fighting for a small piece of that levy.
Well, it is a competitive bid process, so there is a bit of competition, but again, it's the thought process doesn't unfold that way. So the applications all go to the consultant. I see the applications, I read them, I'm curious. I have many years in community mental health, so I have some insight into the organizations and the proposal. If it's an organization that I think can manage to do what they're saying they're going to do. So there's a little bit of evaluation in terms of the eligibility of an organization, but the Will County Board doesn't necessarily see the individual applications. The applications all go to the independent consultant. They start from scratch, they score them, and then the information comes back to the board with the organization and the score. So again, last year, the scoring, you could get 74 points. I think the highest point total of an applicant was a mental health applicant who scored at 67. And then there's just a list in each category. The first decision is that we want to try and make the 3 pillars as equitable as possible. So substance use, developmental disability, mental health. There's about $4 to $5 million committed for this grant cycle. So, you know, we want to get as close as we can to each of those pillars getting the similar dollar amount. So that's really the biggest decision about who gets what. And then within those pillars, the highest scoring, whatever we can manage to fund will go to those top score applicants. So if a current applicant lands in the bottom third of the scoring in their pillar, you know, God bless them, but even if they did a great job, they're not likely to be considered by comparison to the others.
I'm gonna, excuse me, I'm gonna end this conversation just because, I mean, we've spent a lot of time. You're here every quarter. If we have individual questions, let's forward them on to Ms. Mackey to get those answered. But I'll leave this with a comment. You know, if there is extreme competition for these dollars, it is up to the county board to provide that funding. And I know we put it out. We spoke about a referendum earlier today. You know, the Will County residents did vote to fund the 708 Mental Health Board. And I know the last 2 budget cycles, there was a proposed amount, and this board decided to reduce that amount. So what I'm hearing is there is a definite need for this, and maybe this board needs to reconsider to add additional funding so we can provide more services for that. But thank you for coming in today, and I guarantee we'll see you in 3 months.
Yes.
Any other additional questions, please send them along to Ms. Mackey. She'd be more than happy to answer those.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to number 2 on our agenda for new business, 25-3909, approval, collective bargaining agreement with the Will County Correctional Officers. Can I get a motion? Second, Williams. Laner Muchin is here to answer any questions. Is there any debate on this item? Member Trenier?
I just wanted to know how we ended up at the end with the contract, how many years, just briefly, you know, the percentages.
So we were able to, within your authority given by the board, come to close to the King County Corrections. So we'll try to retain the correctional officers and reduce the number of overtime. So in fiscal year 24, 10%, fiscal year 25, 4.5%, fiscal year 2026, 4%, and fiscal year 2027, 4%. And we were also able to accomplish, one of the goals was to eliminate longevity for the correctional officers. So that's a cost savings for the county.
Thank you,
Thank
by
you.
the way. That was awesome. Actually, I was kind of surprised when I looked at my board packet because I'm not used to actually getting any part of the contract.
Yeah,
You just
so-
vote yes or no. So it was kind of nice to see a little snapshot, but I really appreciated you articulating it verbally.
Thank you.
Roll call, please. Yes, ma'am.
Richmond? Williams? Butler? Yes. Freeman? Yes. Hickey? Newquist? Yes. Oxley? Trinier? Yes. Winfrey? Yes. Van Dyne?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Thank you. Before we put this next item on the floor, I just want to remind everybody that this is just a 1-year contract for economics only. If there's any additional questions about the contract, other than what is listed on our agenda, we must go into executive session or hold your questions. This is only for 1 year to prevent back pay. So I'm looking for a motion to approve 25-3917 executive contract economics ratification. I have a motion from Trenier and a second by Butler. Open it up for discussion. Member Trinier?
I'm going to be a yes vote. I don't know, can't remember why we're only doing 1 year, other than to prevent the back pay.
That
Is
is-
that really
That
just
is
it?
exactly why. Yes, yes.
Great, thank you.
Member Newquist?
Yeah, so basically, are you saying that we really couldn't come to terms yet with the non-economic portions of the contract? And so that's why we're proceeding in this manner?
I believe it's still under negotiation,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Yes. No other questions. So is there a previous Winfrey? Second by Oxley. All those in favor, please say aye. Anyone opposed? That motion will carry. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
A little comment for number 4. I do understand that in our rules, we do not have proclamations. There was a reason for that from the previous board, and I believe there's definitely a reason for having no proclamations for this current board as well, for the reasons that many of us know. I will say that next month, there is going to be a proposition to change our rule by myself at executive committee, excuse me, up to you folks to carve out a section to where we can actually honor members of the Will County team for long-term employment and for retirement. I feel it's important to at least honor these individuals that they gave a lot of their time and effort to us and to the county. And I think it's very bipartisan. So that will be coming next month for a vote, and it's up to you folks. I would just like to kindly ask this committee if we could go ahead and try to get this approved. It does have to be approved unanimously at executive committee. So I will look for a motion in a second, and then we'll bring it up for discussion. Motion for proclamation honoring our Will County Under Sheriff Brian Concert. Motion was by Freeman, seconded by Trinier. Discussion. Micah Freeman?
So as you may know, I am against proclamations because, we did vote to not have them. However, I also have changed my vote once to allow for a proclamation that was in disguise as in a resolution for when the Will County Farm Bureau president retired, because I do feel that retirees should be acknowledged. And I had to go against what I have so strongly held. So I appreciate that change in the rules next month. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Butler?
So just to clarify, we do allow proclamations. That is, and if everyone agrees. And I think because there was a lot of debate whether or not, certain social issues should be, broadcasted and supported by this county board was why we did that. So I keep hearing that we do not allow proclamations, but that is not in fact true. We do allow proclamations. And I agree with the speaker. I think in cases of service, it's worthy.
And I may have misspoke. You are correct. We do allow
Twice.
proclamations
They're in-
with unanimous vote from the executive committee. So if I misspoke, I apologize, but thank you for catching that. Any other discussion on this item? We do have a motion and a second. Would we prefer a roll or previous? Previous by Winfrey, seconded by Newquist. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Is there anyone opposed? That motion will carry. Thank you. 25-3689 Sunny Hill Nursing Home room rate increase. Just for a reminder, this was moved from the canceled December Public Health and Safety meeting. And I had, motion Trinier, second Hickey, and I had invited Maggie McDowell up to, if you may, just give us a brief explanation of why this is coming forward, if you will, please. And good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair Van Dyne. Good morning, committee members. My ask before you today is for an increase in our daily rate for our private pay residents at Sunny Hill Nursing Home. In the information that was provided, it does outline the different levels of care or types of care that are actually provided. And just to kind of give you some more insight and an overview on that, our skilled care, which predominantly our residents do fall under this level of care, skilled care. Skilled care is basically medically necessary care that can only be provided by or under the supervision of skilled or licensed medical personnel, which will involve our RNs, our LPNs, and our physicians. The other type of care that we provide, although we do not have any residents that currently fall under this canopy, is basically custodial care. This does not need to be provided by licensed personnel, which this would include our CNAs. And like I said, predominantly our residents fall under skilled care because, again, we are a long-term care facility. Excuse me. Under our skilled care, we provide two types of room service. The residents have private pay rooms, and they also have semi-private rooms. Most of our rooms are actually private. We have retained a couple of semi-private rooms so that we are in a position to provide the opportunity if a husband and wife comes into a facility and they want to stay together, or we have family members. We've had a number of occasions where we've had sisters that have come in that were twins. They've been together all their lives. They wanted to stay together. We've also had a situation of where a brother and a sister came in and they wanted to stay together. So having that semi-private room opportunity, benefits everybody as well. Although, like I said, predominantly all our rooms, a couple of years ago, we moved to private rooms because that is what our residents and our families were looking for. Again, think about it if you go to the hospital yourself. You don't want to share a room with somebody. You want a private room. And the same applies to our residents. Like I indicated in the outline, also there's the skilled care, there's the intermediate care or custodial care, and then we also offer respite care. But respite care is that intermittent care where maybe the caregiver at home is fatigued and they need a break, or maybe they're going out of town and they're going on vacation and they need to provide services on an interim basis, maybe for a couple of weeks. So then they'll put their loved one in the nursing home, and then we do provide those services as well. Again, our private pay base, predominantly our residents, we have anywhere between maybe 40 and 50 residents that fall into this category. Again, if I estimate an average of about 45 private pay residents, and increasing, the amount by $50, that will result in an annual increase in revenue of about $819,250. Like I said, many of our private pay residents already have applied for public aid and are in the required spend down process. And they are working extensively with our finance department and with our staff so that, as that spend down occurs, we assist them in that overall process while they're waiting to be put on Medicaid, because I would say probably 70% of our residents are Medicaid. Please note that our private pay residents do not have any of their room or their board covered by Medicare and or Medicaid. There has not been a private pay rate increase since January of last year when I came before the board previously. And based on our 2024 public aid cost report, which is the most recent one that's available, the daily cost rate equated to $434.58. So with our previous daily rate of $365, there still was a shortfall there. There was a deficit. So, essentially that's what we're doing. We are a not-for-profit facility. So there, regardless of even with the rate increase that I'm requesting at this juncture of $415, it still doesn't bring us anywhere close to what our competitors in the general area are charging. And I have provided you with that information as well. We have different areas. There are like 6 different other nursing homes. We're still a very far stretch from what they're actually charging per day. So I think, you know, even asking for an increase of $50 to bring us to the 415, like I said, we want to try and stay, you know, somewhat competitive. You look at the numbers and the charges of the other facilities. If we look at one in particular, you know, it equates to a very similar situation that we are providing. They are also a county nursing home, and they are charging $668. That's a far stretch from $365, which we are currently charging. I also, you know, feel it's important to mention that, you know, Sunny Hill has maintained its star rating. We continue to be a 5-star facility. And I think it's very important that, you know, I also mentioned that we have been continuously rated for the last 6 years as one of the top nursing homes in Illinois. Currently, we're at number 3, which was designated by Newsweek, and we have been designated number 3 for the last 2 years running. Again, this is not something that should be taken for granted, especially when we look around and see how our elder care services are dwindling. And our elderly population is growing exponentially with people living much longer. Currently, our oldest resident at Sunny Hill is 106 years old. So that's indicative of, we have many residents also that are 100 years old. So, you know, the service that we provide is extremely important. It's a lifeline services, and we provide a home-like environment at Sunny Hill Nursing Home. And I feel that we provide a vital service to the community that we all serve. Again, the other thing that I do want to mention, and I'm looking at the bottom of my sheet here, is that all of the other facilities, Sunny Hill is the only facility that has an all-inclusive rate. The other 6 facilities that I've listed add additional costs for services such as wheelchair rental, incontinence products, oxygen, isolation, PPE. Ours is inclusive. And those additional fees add up. So again, like I indicated, we are a not-for-profit, and obviously we're living our mission. So I'm opening it up if anybody has any specific questions.
Thank you for that. Member Trenier?
Thank you so much, Maggie. I probably need to meet with you privately, but I'd like to know the difference between private pay and Medicaid. I mean, we're charging the same rate for both, right?
No,
Okay.
the reimbursement system is completely different. Private pay rate, it does not include Medicare or Medicaid. When somebody comes in under Medicare, and most of the facilities that we're talking about here focus their attention on Medicare because that renders the highest revenues. But that's based on a patient-driven payment model, a PDPM model. So how that works based on acuity, again, if the person's on isolation, if the person requires IVs, it's a much higher level of care. So if somebody comes in and they're on Medicare, then that's calculated based on 5 factors. It factors in the rehab potential, like your PT, OT, ST, nursing services, and then non-therapy related services. So that can vary greatly depending on the acuity and the comorbidity of the resident involved. So that changes constantly.
Okay, I obviously have gotten into a very deep subject.
Yes,
and
and it's pretty broad.
I think I'll, you know, hold my question, but so private pay though means you're just on regular insurance.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and like I said, most of those residents that come in under private pay are on a spend down. meaning that our staff, our finance department is working very closely with them because inevitably at some point that money runs out
Their
and they
insurance.
need, correct, and they need to go on Medicaid. So all of those 45 people are probably in the process of venturing towards being on Medicaid eventually.
And I would assume then most of your private pay people are below 65 age-wise?
No,
because-
our average age at Sunny Hill is 87 plus. So we're talking about residents that are much older. We don't typically see people in their 60s or in their, maybe early 70s. But, like I said, it depends. We don't typically see the younger age group. Our average age, and right now our census is at 152. So most of those are like 87 years old.
But I think like most people, and I don't know about everybody here, I'm not on Medicare yet, but I would assume if I'm private pay and I'm on Medicare, how can I be both? Because Medicare, I wouldn't consider that private.
Like I said, most of our residents are not in that age group. Most of our residents are, like I said, private pay on a spend down, moving towards being placed on Medicaid.
There's a lot I'm going to have to learn.
Yeah, it's
on
pretty
insurance.
convoluted.
Yeah, because that's just kind of wild. And then you mentioned custodial care. That's the same as respite care?
No, those are two different cares. Custodial care is basic care that like you don't have to have an RN or an LPN or a physician oversee and that's deemed medically necessary. That could be a CNA, that could be the care that's being rendered by somebody in your own home. We don't have anybody that falls under that right now. They require skilled care. And then respite care is just basically if somebody needs an interim break
That's
or
that
somebody
intermittent-
that's at home
Okay.
being cared for by the family and now they have to go out of town or they're just wore out and they really need a break. They may come to us for 3 or 4 weeks on an interim basis for respite care.
Okay, I got it now. Thank you.
That's a support service by
Yeah.
the facility.
Yeah, I didn't even know we offered that. That's a great.
And we have certain individuals that come in routinely, periodically based on what their family are doing, and they'll come in for a couple of weeks and we'll provide that respite stay.
Well, I can support even a higher increase because I really do think we should recoup our costs.
Well, and if you look, again, like I said, in the outline, based on the 2024 cost report, because that's the most current one that's available, we were at 434.58. Now, goods and services have increased exponentially since then.
know.
So again, there's always going to be that shortfall, that deficit that exists.
Yeah. I hate to see that because you got, it's $50 a day times 7 days a week times 52 weeks a year times all of our residents. That's a lot of shortfall.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Leader Richmond.
So Maggie, I commend you for the 5-star rating.
Thank you.
That's something for us to be proud of.
Yes, and we have maintained that rating. I've been in my position now at Sunny Hill for 8 years. And we have been even all through COVID. I'm very proud of our staff and I'm very proud of the job that they do every day. Because I do think that in this industry and with the landscape that exists currently, that's very hard to achieve.
Yeah, no, so that 434 number, that's last year's number, 434.58 that you gave us.
434 is 24's number.
Okay.
2024, because
Okay.
it's retro.
It's retro,
Yeah.
okay. So we know that probably the costs have gone up some and we're proposing
Absolutely.
going from 365, which is substantially lower, to the tune of sometimes $200 plus per night, per day, lower than all of our competition. And they are competition.
Correct.
So is that, with that 434 number that you gave before, is that all inclusive? Because you said that includes all the wheelchairs and all that. other kind?
Everything. Yes.
So that's our all-in number.
That's
so-
our all-in number.
We're still going to be, I didn't write it down here, but I'll call it $25 off of what our old year number should be.
Correct. There's a
what's preventing-
shortfall.
What's preventing us from going to that, at least that 435 number?
That would be up to this board. I'm not, requesting for it to be that number. But certainly if that decision was, the decision of the board, then, I've been coming before the board periodically for the last 8 years. I remember a time where it was very difficult to get a $10 increase for our residents. And again, like I said, I'm looking at it from the perspective that most of our residents fall within the category of, they are going to be, 70% is going to be on Medicaid. It makes it very difficult. I'm very conscious of the fact that people are struggling, our families are struggling. But as in my position and in your position, we're also trying to balance the reality of, those increases that constantly occur, and to be able to provide the type of service that we do at the level that we do on a consistent basis. There is a substantial cost involved, and there are hard decisions that have to be made. Do I want to bring it before everybody and say we need to increase? Yeah, unfortunately we do. And this is the tough part of all our jobs. So I am very conscious and aware of how this is going to impact our families. And again, this is why, I impart this information. I send a letter to all our families. By regulation, I'm required to provide them with a 30-day notice, which is what I will do, depending on what the outcome of and the decision of this board is.
Because roughly the way I look at it, based on your comparisons here from October, and I'm going to assume that they're 100% accurate, is for the most part, we're $100 less and or more than $100 less than everybody else. And the other government one were, wow, 200 and some plus dollars less, 230 plus dollars, 240, $50 plus less, without doing the math. That's substantial. And I think, if you're maintaining that 5-star rating and we have, the compensation needs to be there so that this way we can continue to provide that. I agree. $100, $200 less per night times 157 beds times 365 days. That adds up to millions of dollars. So if we can at least get to break even based on your old number, which we know we won't be at break even, we'll still be at a loss. We're a lot closer than that $3 million gap that you and I have discussed in the past. So I think it behooves us as a board to really look at this from a math perspective and understand. Okay. Well, all right. I'll be happy to do, well, put it this way. No, I'm okay. Usually nobody wants to agree, and when I start going into my math scenario. So all right. So let me do this, and please help me, Kevin, if you don't mind. I want to make a motion that we move to go to, I'm sorry. I want to make a motion to amend. Thank you, Jackie. I appreciate the help because I want to get it right. Make a motion to amend that we go to $434. Will be like 58 cents, but that's okay. For this upcoming increase.
34.
Well, it's 434.58, so let's just go 434 and
435.
435. Okay, 435. All right.
All right.
I appreciate that everybody's
All
on the
right,
same
let's
page.
get it clear then. We have a motion on the floor from Mr. Richmond to increase to $435 per night.
Correct. Yes.
And there was a second by Mr. Butler. Any discussion on the amendment? Member Trenier?
I think it's an excellent idea. We probably, since we're adjusting those two, maybe also need an amendment to adjust the semi-private, the intermediate care private, and the semi-private intermediate care. I don't know what the right dollar amounts would be for those. Maybe we can work on those.
So yeah, is that something that Maggie, we could work on and adjust that at the full county board? Maybe have that before.
Sure. I can provide that to everybody.
So Kevin, do we have to add anything to that, with more detail to follow, or how does that work?
No, I think that'll be the understanding is if we have the info from Maggie, we can do that at the board, and you're free, of course, to make the motion.
Okay.
But yeah, so we'll wait and see what those numbers are. You obviously have. It may be, yeah.
Proportionally.
Sure.
Proportionally, based on what we've done previously.
But on the floor now, you have an appropriate amendment.
Okay.
Do we need a previous roll?
Not yet.
Okay.
Discussion on the amendment. Any members from the committee? I will go to Ms. Berkowitz.
Thank you. And as a family that had a loved one, my father was at Sunny Hill, very dear to my heart, and very grateful to the experience there. It's a very special place. So what I wanted to ask before this goes through, and this is exciting, I think that we need to make sure that Sunny Hill is still there for our residents. And financially, we need to be on good footing so that we are there for our residents. I have a question about the inclusive rate. So we're the only facility that offers an all-inclusive rate. And I'm just wondering why we do that. And have you considered possibly taking certain things like isolation or certain things and taking it out of that rate so that we can recoup some of the costs that they generate, because they do generate an additional expense?
I think before you answer, Julie, no disrespect, but we want to keep focused on the amendment
That's
and then
why-
we can ask.
Depending on the answer, maybe we want to remove the all-inclusive rate as well. That's why I'm asking the
Okay.
question.
All right.
I think given what our mission is and what our mission always has been at Sunny Hill, you know, we are a not-for-profit. So all these other areas are for profit, and you're going to see a significant difference in terms of how they do business. And I'm not saying we're not a business entity. At the end of the day, we are. That's the reality of it. However, these other entities do not take Medicaid.
Does that include the DuPage Care Center?
I'm sorry?
DuPage Care Center? I thought that was the county.
That is county also, and that's the exception. That's the comparison, you know, that we equate with, because that's a county facility too.
Correct.
The other entities are all for profit. Now, certainly we could, you know, look at charging for some and not have it all inclusive. I mean, that's certainly something we could explore. In the 50+ years of history of Sunny Hill, that has not happened, but you know, the landscape is what it is today, and maybe that is something that, you know, the board would like for the facility to explore. I'm not adverse to that, certainly, depending on what, you know, the consensus is. But it's not something that we have done previously. It's not something I would like to just throw at people either, because we need to leverage into this. We need to involve our residents. I need to bring it to resident council. I'm not making this decision in isolation. Sunny Hill, we work on the premise of resident person-centered care, person-directed care. I involve the residents in everything. They need to be part of the decision-making process. So I bring and get their opinion at our resident council meeting. And then, you know, our families need to be involved too. I want to leverage this so that they are aware that, because this would be such a very huge change for Sunny Hill. So it's not something I just want to throw at people and kind of not have any kind of a prelude to it, not hear people out in terms of what their opinions are about it. But at the end of the day, it doesn't mean that, you know, as a facility, as a board, that we're not going to do this. It just means we're going to include our residents and we're going to include our families.
Well, and I bring this forward because we have to continue to be financially viable. If we don't, then Sunny Hill as we know it may cease to exist. And then that same community, that wonderful community you have there, may have to leave or adapt to a new Sunny Hill. So we have to keep focus on the financial. We're addressing a financial situation here just to make us healthy. And there is quite a difference between DuPage Care Center and Sunny Hill. And I'm very familiar with DuPage Care Center, do some volunteering there. I'm there periodically. And so I want to make sure that we're giving ourselves the best resources we have to continue to provide that exceptional service. So I think there is such a difference here. That's why I bring that up. We don't want to nickel and dime our residents, and we don't want to take more than we should. But we've got room there, and we don't know what the future holds. Financially, I don't think that we're putting ourselves at risk, that we're going to lose the families that we have there. I think there's it's their home, and if we've got to raise a couple of the costs, it's for their benefit as well. And so that's why I bring this forward. Would this be part of the amendment? I can't do that. I'm not on the county, but I'm just asking my fellow committee members.
Thank you. Mr. Oxley, your comment from the difference between 415 and 435 per night on the amendment.
Thank you. We have to meet sustainability, and I agree with the raise. One question I have, there's a difference in Medicare and Medicaid, and if they're funded, this is what I'm told, like Victorian Village, Lamont Rehab, I'm familiar with, Franciscan Village, and Alden, all of them. The Medicare and the Medicaid, they have to have a certain amount of Medicaid beds available to get the funding through Medicare. Also, because they have residents who are on Medicare, and they have to have a certain amount of beds for Medicaid. Is the understanding I am not.
All our beds are Medicare or Medicaid certified.
Right, but the other facilities have to have availability of Medicaid also with Medicare. They have Medicare, and then they have to have a certain amount of Medicaid for beds available, correct?
I can't speak to how many beds they would have assigned to
There's an
based on their
There's
certification.
an amount.
Yeah, there's an
I just-
amount.
I
I'm
just
sure
wanted to
there is.
clarify that there is
Yeah.
a set amount they have available.
But predominantly, we have, like I said, about 70% of our residents are Medicaid. And then we have, 45, 50 residents that fall under private pay. And then we have, a certain amount. And we're seeing more and more Medicaid residents that come in short stay. A couple of years ago, we were predominantly long stay, long-term care only. The landscape has changed since COVID. And of course, now we are seeing a lot more Medicaid coming in under PDPM. And, that's a variable rate.
All right, thank you. Just to be clear, this is the amendment moving skilled care private room from $415 to $435. And then the other amounts will be proportional to this amendment. Correct, Mr. Richmond? So on the amendment, can I have a roll call?
Richmond? Williams? Butler?
Yes.
Freeman? Hickey? Newquist? Oxley?
Yes.
Trainier? Winfrey? Van Dyne?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Looking for a motion to approve as amended. Motion Trinier, second Winfrey. Thank you. Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? That motion will carry. Thank you so much, Maggie.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Trustees Resolution 253579 moved from the canceled December finance meeting. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? That motion will carry. Resolution 25-3583, fiscal year 25 budget transfer, and this was also moved from our canceled finance committee. Motion Newquist, second Trinier, previous Winfrey, and seconded by Hickey. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Is there anyone opposed? Motion carries. I'm going to look for a motion to put this on the floor, and I believe Attorney Ally Harms has a couple statements to make. looking for a motion for 25-3577, amending the control ordinance, chapter 10. Is there a motion? Seconded by Oxley. Before we move to discussion, Ms. Harms,
The first item that's before you today is Anna Garcia. She's looking for an increase. So we currently have one Class D license, and we need to increase it to 2. They do have a restaurant. I don't have any changes to that resolution, so I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
would you like to mention your changes on the rest, or would you prefer us to go through number 8?
I think we should vote on this one, and
Okay.
then we'll move to the next one.
There is a motion and a second, and I think we do have a clean roll. So is there a previous Winfrey, seconded by Hickey? Any discussion on that? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I'll look for a motion to put this on the floor. 25-3578, amending the liquor control ordinance. Motion by Winfrey, second Hickey. Ms. Harms, if you'd like to speak on this.
So item number 9, this is, we received an application from Mr. Desai. He owns Highland Entertainment LLC over on Cass Street. This is in County Board District 6, and I do believe he talked to his county board members regarding his application. He's applying for a Class A license, so we do need an increase from 5 to 6. And I do have a Scrivener's error that I'd like to correct on the resolution. So this would be paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4 on the resolution. I have Kismet Restaurant. It needs to be corrected to Highland Liquors.
Okay, so we can just make that adjustment, correct, Kevin? The Scrivener's error, so there's no amendment. Any discussion on this before?
It also needs to be corrected the classification. So that's why I wanted to bring it before you, because I'm not sure if that's going to be substantive or if that would just be a Scrivener's error. Because so it says,
Let me,
1, 2, 3, paragraph 4, it says, whereas the county executives received a request from Kismet Restaurant, needs to be Highland Entertainment LLC for a Class D license. It needs to say A license. So I just want to make sure we're clear on what you're voting on.
That I think is substantive and you should make a motion.
Motion to, oh, go ahead.
I have it. I do have it as listed.
Do you?
Oh, not on the resolution, but on the actual item number 9. So you want to change it on the resolution itself. Okay, so there's a motion to amend by Winfrey,
Second, Trunier.
second Trinier.
And I did have a question. Sure.
Do we need a previous roll on the amendment?
You got a question on the amendment?
I just wanted to know, an A license versus a D license. D, I know is a restaurant. A is a liquor store?
A Class A authorizes the sale for consumption in an enclosed building where no entertainment is allowed. So the difference between Class D is only beer and wine and no entertainment as well.
Okay.
So Class A is more than just beer and wine.
Ah, thank you. Yeah, it's a bar.
Yeah.
Thank you. You could have just said bar.
Is there a previous roll on the amendment? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And I should know this, but we do have a motion and a second on the original. So do I need a new motion and a second on as amended? Okay. I'm so confused. Motion as amended by Winfrey, seconded by Freeman. Any discussion on the amended motion? Thank you. Seconded by Trinier. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? That motion will carry. Any need to discuss number 10?
Number 10, there is a Scrivener's error.
Let's hear it now, if we can.
It's paragraph 4. It says Class D equals A. It should just be Class A. I was drafting all these at one time and copying and pasting, so my apologies.
Is there a motion to amend? This. Any discussion on the amendment? All those in favor, please say aye. Anyone opposed? That motion will carry. Motion to approve as amended. and a seconded previous by Mr. Butler. Is that cool? Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? That motion will carry. Thank you so much for that information. I'm not going to allow any other new business today. And I do not want a request for the state's attorney's opinion. Okay, thank you. Committee reports. Does anyone feel that they need to report on any of their committees? I will just open it up. Go ahead and put your light on if you feel like you would like to report. I see none. Oh, remember Newquist?
Just really briefly, the request for the solar development on Baltz Road has been postponed again. It was supposed to be on the agenda, but they're still waiting to see what happens in the other case. So just wanted to let you guys know that won't be on the agenda this time. Thank
For
you.
finance, thank you. And I will move over to, I'm sorry, land use. And I will move over to Chair Oxley of the Landfill Committee. Newly chair.
Newly chaired.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Van Dyne, for having the confidence in me to appoint me to that. We have a site visit scheduled for next Monday. I'm going to go down and look at it. Leader Richmond's going with me. I've requested some budgets and contracts and contact numbers so we can review it and get up to speed on that. Thank you.
Thank you. It doesn't look like we have any appointments by the county executive this month. Announcements by the chair. Just to let you folks know that I have decided to move the public hearings that was normally at the full board, moving it to land use committee in February. And also, I'm sorry, in February. And also a list of the 2026 committee meetings were sent yesterday. And this afternoon, you will receive reoccurring calendar invites for the listed committee meeting. Mr. Pelkey, you want to just give them a brief explanation on what to expect here?
We sent out the list, the entire list of meetings for each committee yesterday. What you'll have, what you'll start getting later this afternoon is you will get an invite for each of those committee meetings. You'll get one invite. If you accept that invitation, it will become a reoccurring, it will be added to your calendar each month, and it will be a reoccurring committee meeting. You will not receive another invitation to that committee meeting unless it's canceled or rescheduled at the last minute. The only exception will be if there are meetings that are scheduled on a holiday or meetings that are scheduled on an election day. Though you'll get a separate invitation for those meetings. And once again, once you accept that invitation, you'll not get another invitation. I realize we had some confusion with the constant invitations as we were going on, late this year. This should resolve all those problems. You'll get the upshot is you'll get a lot of invitations starting this afternoon, but those should be the only invitations that you get.
Thank you. I do see a light on. I don't know exactly where. Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. I guess I can just open it up to comments. Member Freeman?
Mine's actually a question, Speaker. I'm not opposed to moving the public hearings. Do we have to change our rules for that, or?
I believe it's at the discretion of the speaker.
Okay.
Is what I was being told by.
Is that correct, Mr. State's Attorney? Okay, I don't want any
You don't have a particular.
upraise or
Yeah.
any issues.
Agenda is in our rules.
But yeah, just like it doesn't say. I was just curious. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Oxley.
On the public hearings, that was my question. Why are we moving it? So we won't have a public hearing at the full county board?
Yeah, so my reasoning, by statute, we're only supposed to provide one public hearing, and that was taking place at the Planning and Zoning Committee, which those folks are appointed. In the past, we've always gave a second public hearing, and it's always occurred during the full board.
Yes.
We've had discussion for a couple months on whether we want to move the second public hearing to land use because in fact, people come there in anticipation that once that's approved, that it's the final decision. We feel that it's more fitting for the land use committee to hear the entire applicant's opinion and from the land use department. This will also expedite our full board meetings, and it's not silencing the residents because they still in fact do have 2 public hearings. And if any board member feels the need to use that information provided by the public hearing, they can come to the land use committee, and it will also be available on video. So it's in an effort to try to streamline our full board meetings. It will put a limitation on comments up to 3 minutes. We all know during public hearing, they can speak as long as they want. So I wanted to move it, and I know some other folks agree with me that they wanted to move the public hearing to the committee itself.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're still going to be able to ask the applicant and the land use where they're going with this and why they made this decision, stuff of that nature. That's all.
During land use committee, yes.
Well, yeah, but a full county board not being on land use committee, so you would have to attend that meeting. Sometimes it's not possible to do that.
That is true. My feeling, we're elected as county board members, and I feel that the information that you want to gather is up to the individual. I know a lot of people come to the meetings regardless whether they're on the committee or not. And like I said, the minutes are always available. So that's where we're at.
Okay,
Thank you. I will go to Leader Williams.
Yes, when we were discussing this before, I had the question as to why it had been put at the full board meeting in the first place, and I never received any information. I was told I would get that information.
Yeah, that is true. I don't know if that was directed to me. If it was, I apologize. We'll work on trying to figure that out. Oh.
And I'll take a.
Go ahead and speak on that, would you please?
Yeah, we went back some distance on that, and I don't think we were able to really kind of ascertain when the change was originally made, but we'll go back farther and we'll provide that information to you.
I just want to make sure that we're not doing something that we put it on there for a reason, and now we're taking it off and we don't know what the reason was originally. So to me, that just doesn't make sense until we do.
Right.
And you did make the request to me. I did do a little research as well. I was not able to ascertain based on both my being here for 12 years and going back as far as I could go. I started doing searches through the search function through the board. So whatever it was picking up, I didn't necessarily have a time frame. I was trying to use keyword searching but obviously I couldn't go back through every agenda for the past. I don't even know what the total availability is.
I think we went back and looked back as far as like 15 years, if I'm not mistaken, and we're just not able to come with a rationale for why they were changed or a discussion about why they were changed on that. But again, we can go back. We can try to go back deeper.
I would like to know, because we do have people that were here that long, and if they can't remember, then something must have happened to make us do it in the first place. That's all I'm saying, because this board has been around for a little while.
Member Newquist?
Thank you. I just want to say that we essentially, even though it's not called a public hearing, we really do have a public hearing at land use. I mean, that's basically how it's treated. But I do have one suggestion. We do at times get additional information at the land use meetings, which we've not been able to use before because technically we can only consider information that's presented in a public hearing. So I would suggest that any additional information that we get during the land use public hearing, we should make available in our packets for the full board meeting. And I also want to point out that people can still come and comment, but they're just limited to their 3 minutes at the beginning. But we're not shutting people off from commenting at the full board meeting. Thank you.
In response to Member Newquist, our team will get those land use committee meetings up and posted very quickly. You know, oftentimes we do that right within a couple hours of the actual meeting being closed out. Tim is very good. He gets those meetings up posted oftentimes the same afternoon. And again, this also too, I don't know, it seems that, you know, well, first of all, Chair Pretzel is in favor of moving these public hearings to land use. He supports this. Also too, it just raises questions about, you know, if you can't take any information into account outside of a public hearing, it raises some questions about what land use is actually doing as well. And I think this is the appropriate place probably to put that public hearing. Again, it'll be up shortly after that. And if there is additional information that comes out of it and as directed by the Land Use Committee, we'll certainly make that available. So,
Mr. Oxley.
Yes, and I was on the Plan Commission in Lockport 32 years, 17 as chair. And the Planning Commission held the public hearings and then it went to City Council. But what we did not allow is additional information because we just had a case recently where at land use and everything that was in our committee reports was added to at the meeting of the full county board, which should not have been allowed. I mean, they added that they've secured another, you know, I would assume at land use and everything else, they got the truck route for that property. And then when they came before us, they had secured an additional route for bringing in the trucks in and out, which was not part of the original hearing, the public hearing. So I would suggest we refrain from doing that in the future. That should have went back to land use for clarification.
Kevin?
And I just want to say, you know, obviously, every time we try to admonish when things like that come up, just as a reminder to point out where you should be removing information or not considering information, because obviously sometimes applicants will say things that we don't have control over.
Okay. Yeah. And
Done the landfill on Rowell Avenue. And then when they came before the full board, they said, well, we've established this as a truck route also. Well, that goes right through the neighborhood. That wasn't part of the public hearing. It should have been allowed as part of the hearing before the board.
Sure, understood. And so, yeah, you certainly have the power to remand that. That's a board policy decision. I will say that in land use litigation, you do have the authority to amend things on the floor. Just so it's more of a policy decision of how you want to handle that rather than a strict bright line rule that could be remanded though.
Right. Thank you.
thank you. And just for a side thought, you know, we did have members on the executive committee that wanted to use their time to make comments. Is there a way to put that on the executive committee agenda at some point? I know it's on full board. I don't know if it's on every individual committee, but I think with leadership being here in the room, wanting to make a comment, I would like to try to find a spot on the agenda for that to happen, if we can.
Mr. Speaker, would you like that on all committees, or strictly just the executive committee on that?
I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with all committees if the members had something to say before adjournment. So,
Okay. Yeah. I mean, there are, I've always kind of interpreted like announcements / reports by the chair as kind of an opportunity to open that up,
okay.
To committee members as well. But we can put a specific item for comments from the committee on this.
Yes, ma'am.
On our committee agenda, it says reports by committee members. They are entitled to speak or ask questions. And right here on your own agenda, under number, oh God, I hate Roman numerals, 8, announcements and reports by the chair, that would be the chair of each committee. So, and everybody on this committee is a chair, with the exception of the Democratic leader and the Republican leader, but they're the leaders.
Okay.
So
The way I
they're on
read
this
it is
committee.
report, and the announcements and report by the chair of this committee. So I just wanted to give the opportunity for members of the committee to give their comments.
Maybe go a
But-
little higher though, because I think there's a place for each committee to speak and you even asked
All right.
us.
Well, We will review it.
We can do it, Mr. Speaker, we can clarify the issue.
Okay.
So.
All right. No need for executive session. Motion to amend the county board agenda to add all items approved out of the executive committee today.
Second, Trinier.
All those in favor, please say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve the county board agenda as amended. Second, thank you. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. And I believe Ms. Trinier wants to motion to adjourn. Second, Freeman. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next meeting is January 8th. Thank you, everybody.
We're all done with it.
Oh, by the way, we will send out an email, but just for you folks, if you want to do ugly sweater for the full county board, I would like to encourage it. I think it'd be kind of cute. So.
All my sweaters are ugly.
Well, Trevor, you got